Maine Lighthouse Story, 1850. The Twilight Ascent. The year is 1850. You are on the jagged, pine-crested coast of Maine. Before you stands the sentinel of the sea, a lighthouse built of massive, salt-crusted granite blocks. The sun is dipping below the horizon, painting the Atlantic in shades of bruised purple and cold gold. You begin the climb. There are 112 steps in this spiral staircase. Each step is a wedge of solid stone, worn smooth in the center by years of your own footsteps. The air inside the tower is cool and smells of iron and old stone. As you ascend, the sounds of the world outside, the crying gulls, the wind in the scrub pines begin to fade, replaced by the hollow, rhythmic echo of your own steady pace. You carry a brass oil can, its weight familiar and grounding in your hand. Each step takes you higher above the chaos of the waves, closer to the stars. Your breathing is slow. Your heart beats in time with your climb. By the time you reach the lantern room at the top, the world below is just a memory of shadows. You are now the guardian of the light. A Maine Lighthouse Story, 1850. The Twilight Ascent. The Threshold of the Tower. The year is 1850, and you are standing at the base of the Sentinel of the North, a lighthouse perched on a jagged thumb of granite known as Crow's Ledge, just off the coast of Maine. Outside, the Atlantic is beginning its evening transition. The sky is the color of a bruised plum, deep and heavy, with a sliver of cold lemon-yellow light still clinging to the western horizon where the pine forests meet the sea. You place your hand on the doorframe. The granite blocks are massive, 4 feet thick at the base, hewn by hand from the nearby quarries of Vinalhaven. The stone is cold, rough, and encrusted with a fine patina of dried sea salt that sparkles like crushed diamonds in the fading light. You step inside, and the world changes instantly. The roar of the wind and the rhythmic thundering of the surf are suddenly muffled, reduced to a low-pitched hum that vibrates through the very soles of your boots. In this space, time feels different. The air is cool and still, smelling of damp stone, iron, and the faint, nostalgic scent of last night's whale oil. This is your kingdom of solitude. This is the place where the world ends and the watch begins. The first steps. Before you lies the spiral staircase. It is a masterpiece of 19th century geometry. 112 steps, each one a solid wedge of granite cantilevered into the outer wall. They wind upward into the darkness like the interior of a giant seashell. You begin the climb. Thump, pause, thump. Your heavy leather boots meet the stone with a rhythmic, grounding sound. Each step is worn smooth in the center, polished by decades of keepers who have climbed this same path in sun, storm, and snow. You can feel the slight indentation of those who came before you, men who walked this spiral during the War of 1812. Men who watched for ships during the great gales. You are part of a long, unbroken chain of vigilance. As you move upward, your right hand trails along the inner railing. The iron is cold and smooth, coated in a thick layer of black paint that has been buffed to a shine by the friction of palms. The rail is steady. It doesn't shake. It is as permanent as the ledge upon which the tower sits. The weight of the oil. In your left hand, you carry the Great Can, a 5-gallon brass vessel filled with high-grade spermaceti oil. It is heavy, nearly 40 pounds of liquid gold, but the weight is a comfort. It gives you a center of gravity. You feel the oil shift inside the can with every step, a soft rhythmic slosh, 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 like the heartbeat of the lighthouse itself. This oil is the lifeblood of the coast. Without it, the great Fresnel lens at the top is merely a collection of silent glass. With it, you can pierce the darkness for 20 miles. You adjust your grip, the cool brass handle digging slightly into your palm, a reminder of the physical reality of your duty. You are not just a person, you are a provider of light. The spiral meditation. Halfway up, you pause at one of the narrow slit windows carved into the granite. The wall here is so thick that the window feels like a tunnel leading to the outside world. You lean in and look out. From this height, the Maine coastline is a jagged silhouette of dark spruce trees against a fading lavender sky. You can see the white line of the breakers hitting the Old Man Rock out in the bay. From up here, the violence of the ocean looks peaceful. The waves move in slow, silent arcs, breaking into foam that looks like lace on a dark velvet dress. You take a deep breath. The air in the window well is sharp with the scent of the sea, a mixture of iodine, kelp, and cold spray. It clears your head. It fills your lungs with the wildness of the North Atlantic. Then you turn back to the stairs. The climb becomes a meditation. Left foot, right foot, the curve of the wall, the rhythm of the oil. The higher you go, the further away the real world feels. The struggles of the village, the news of the mainland, the politics of 1850, none of it can follow you up this spiral. You are ascending into a state of pure focus. The iron gallery and the ascent's end. As you reach the 90th step, the stone stairs give way to a tighter, steeper ladder made of cast iron. The sound of your footsteps changes from a muffled thump to a metallic clank, clank, clank. The air grows warmer now, heated by the lingering warmth of the day's sun hitting the glass dome above. You can hear the wind again, whistling through the iron vents of the lantern room. It's a high-pitched, musical sound, like a distant flute. You reach the final trap door, a heavy plate of iron with a brass handle. You set the oil can down on the small landing. The sound of the metal hitting the stone is a clear, final note. You take a moment to breathe. Your legs feel heavy, a pleasant, buzzing tiredness that tells you that you have earned this height. You have left the earth behind. You are now 80 feet above the sea, standing in the heart of the tower. Above you, the great glass eye of the lighthouse waits. It is silent, dark, and expectant. In a few moments, you will strike the match. You will turn the wick. You will bring the light to life. But for now, you simply stand in the dim purple twilight of the landing, listening to the vast, heavy silence of the tower and the rhythmic breathing of the Atlantic below. Note for audio change. The sound of the wind grows slightly louder, a soft whoosh that signals the transition to the glass-walled lantern room. The rhythm of the Atlantic. The view from the glass crown. You push open the heavy iron trapdoor and emerge into the lantern room. It is a circular chamber of glass and iron, a transparent crown at the very peak of the tower. After the enclosed, shadowy world of the stone staircase, the sudden openness is breathtaking. You are surrounded by the horizon. In every direction, the Atlantic stretches out, a vast, restless expanse of liquid mercury under the deepening twilight. The sky has now turned a dark, velvety indigo, and the first stars of the evening are beginning to pierce through the atmosphere. They look different from up here. They don't just twinkle, they seem to vibrate with a cold, steady light, mirroring the whitecaps of the waves below. You walk to the edge of the glass and press your palms against the copper frame. It is cool to the touch, vibrating ever so slightly with the power of the wind. From this height, you are no longer a person on the land. You are a part of the atmosphere. You are suspended between the heavens and the deep, and the only thing connecting you to the earth is the solid granite pillar beneath your feet. The threefold pulse of the sea. Focus your ears now on the sound below. Even through the thick, storm-proof glass, the ocean speaks in a voice that is felt as much as it is heard. In 1850, there are no engines, no sirens, no humming wires. There is only the dialogue between the water and the stone. Listen to the rhythm. It is a three-part cycle that has played since the beginning of time. First, there is the inhale. You watch a long, dark swell gather itself a mile out at sea. It moves toward the tower with a silent, terrifying grace. You can hear it breathing, a low-frequency hiss as the water slides over the submerged kelp forests. Then comes the impact. The swell reaches the ledges, the jagged fingers of Maine granite that protect your tower. Kaboom! It is not a sharp sound, but a deep, hollow thud that vibrates through the entire lighthouse. You feel it in your chest. You feel it in the soles of your boots. It is the sound of the world's weight meeting the world's strength. Finally, there is the recession. The water shatters into a million white fragments, rushing back down the rocks. This is the most soothing sound of all, the shh of the backwash. It sounds like a giant slow-motion breath through a field of dry leaves. It is the sound of 1,000 smooth pebbles being rearranged, 1,000 shells being polished. Surge, impact, release. Surge, impact, release. Your own breathing begins to slow down, unconsciously matching this ancient tempo. Your heart rate settles into the long, slow rhythm of the North Atlantic. You find that you no longer feel the need to move or speak. You are perfectly content to simply exist as a witness to this cycle. The architecture of the waves. From your vantage point, you begin to notice the patterns in the water. The sea is not just one color. It is a tapestry of deep navy, charcoal gray, and streaks of ghostly white. You watch the white horses, the foam-crested waves as they gallop toward the shore. In the fading light, they look like spectral runners, appearing for a moment in a flash of white and then vanishing into the dark troughs. You follow a single wave from the horizon all the way to the base of the tower. You watch it grow, peak, and then spill over itself in a tumble of lace. There is something profoundly healing about watching this repetition. No two waves are identical, yet the pattern is eternal. It is the ultimate form of organized chaos. It clears the clutter from your mind, replacing your internal noise with the external majesty of the sea. The salt and the stone. You step outside onto the gallery, the narrow iron walkway that circles the exterior of the lantern room. The wind hits you instantly. It is cold, sharp, and smells of pure salt. It tastes of the deep ocean, thousands of miles of open water compressed into a single gust. You grip the iron railing, which is wet with the sea mist. This mist is a fine, invisible spray that hangs in the air, coating everything in a layer of salt. You feel it on your face, a cool, tingly sensation that makes you feel intensely alive, yet strangely calm. Looking straight down, the sight is dizzying. The base of the lighthouse is being swirled with white foam, looking like a white collar on a dark coat. You see the tide pools in the rocks, small, quiet circles of water that remain still even as the ocean rages around them. You feel like one of those tide pools. The world may be vast and restless, but here, in the center of the watch, you are still. You are clear. You are at peace. A lone seagull glides past the tower, its wings motionless as it rides the updrafts. For a second, you are eye to eye with the bird. There is no fear, only a shared understanding of the heights. It lets out a single lonely cry that is swallowed by the wind. In this moment, you realize the beauty of your solitude. Most people are tucked away in their beds in the village, oblivious to the drama of the night. But you, the keeper, you are awake to see the truth of the world. You see the stars as they really are. You hear the ocean's true voice. The heavy, leaden tiredness in your limbs from the climb is now turned into a light, airy sensation. Your mind feels as expansive as the horizon. You take one last look at the dark line where the sea meets the sky, then turn back toward the interior of the lantern room. It is time to light the lamp. It is time to turn this silent glass into a burning star. As you step back inside and close the iron door, the roar of the ocean becomes a muffled hum once again, a constant, comforting reminder that the rhythm of the Atlantic will be there to guard your sleep, just as you guard the ships upon its surface. Polishing the Fresnel lens. The glass cathedral. You stand now in the very center of the lantern room, facing the heart of the tower, the Fresnel lens. In 1850, this is the most sophisticated piece of glasswork in the world. It is not just a single lens, but a massive beehive-shaped assembly of over 1,000 hand-ground glass prisms, all held together by a gleaming bronze framework. To look at it from the inside is like standing inside a giant diamond. The glass is incredibly thick, yet crystal clear. As you move around it, the prisms catch the fading twilight from the windows and shatter it into a million tiny rainbows that dance across the floor and walls. It is a cathedral of light, silent and cold, waiting for you to begin the ritual of the evening. The rhythmic polish. Before you light the lamp, the glass must be perfect. Even the thinnest film of salt spray or a single smudge of oil would scatter the light and dim the beam. You reach into your wooden kit and pull out a piece of chamois, a soft, supple leather cloth, and a small bottle of pure alcohol. You begin at the very top of the lens. You raise your arm and press the cloth against the first prism. Shh, shh, shh. The sound is soft, dry, and incredibly rhythmic. Listen to the friction of the leather against the glass. It is a high-frequency whisper that seems to vibrate through your fingertips. You move your hand in slow, deliberate circles. As the alcohol evaporates, the glass changes from a dull, misty gray to a piercing, transparent brilliance. You move to the next prism. Shh, shh, shh. The task is immense. There are hundreds of these glass wedges, and each one requires your total attention. But this is not a chore. It is a meditation. You find that your mind stops wandering. You aren't thinking about the past or the future. You are only thinking about this 1 inch of glass. Your world has narrowed down to the circle of your cloth and the clarity of the prism. The dance of reflections. As you work your way down the beehive, you see the world outside reflected in the prisms. But because of the way the glass is ground, the reflections are strange and beautiful. You see the Atlantic upside down. You see the stars multiplied 100 times. You see your own hand distorted into a long, graceful shadow that moves in time with your breathing. The bronze frame of the lens smells of metal polish and old warmth. Every so often, your brass buckle or a button on your coat taps against the frame. Kink. It is a clear musical note that rings out in the quiet of the lantern room, hanging in the air for a second before being swallowed by the soft shh of the chamois. You are meticulous. You clean the bullseye, the massive central lens that concentrates the light into a single powerful horizontal beam. You feel the weight and the density of the glass. It is cool beneath your cloth, but you can feel the potential energy hidden within it. It is an instrument of salvation, and you are its tuner. The clarity of the mind. There is a profound psychological effect in the act of polishing. As the smudges and the salt haze vanish from the glass, you feel a similar clearing happening in your own mind. The mental fog of the day, the small stresses, the unstated worries seems to be wiped away by the rhythmic motion of your arm. By the time you reach the bottom row of prisms, you are in a state of deep, calm focus. Your breathing is slow and shallow. Your muscles are relaxed, moving with a fluid, liquid grace. The lantern room is now dark, but the lens seems to glow with its own internal light, having captured every stray photon of the evening and held it within its glass heart. You step back and look at your work. The lens is invisible now, not because it is gone, but because it is so clean that it has become a window into infinity. You see the stars through the glass, and they look sharper, closer, and more real. The final wipe. You take a final dry corner of the chamois and give the central bullseye one last slow wipe. Scree! Shh! The glass let out a tiny, high-pitched squeak of perfection. It is a sound of completion. The instrument is ready. The glass is clear. The world is waiting for the first flash of the night. You put your cleaning supplies back into the wooden box, the soft clatter of the tools against the wood signaling the end of the first half of your watch.
You feel a deep sense of satisfaction. You have taken something clouded and made it clear. You have prepared the way for the light. As you reach for the match to light the central wick, you take one last moment to appreciate the silence, the heavy crystalline silence of the glass cathedral perched high above the restless, singing sea.
The scent of whale oil. The spark in the dark. The lantern room is now fully embraced by the night. The violet sky has deepened into a solid velvet black. You stand before the central lamp, a heavy brass apparatus located at the exact focal point of the Fresnel lens. This is the heart of the tower. You reach into your pocket and produce a long wooden match. You strike it against the rough stone of the interior wall. Scritch. The sudden flare of orange light is startling in the darkness. For a moment, the world is reduced to the small dancing flame between your fingers. You lean forward and touch the match to the 4 concentric cotton wicks. The fire takes hold. It doesn't roar, it spreads with a slow, thirsty grace. The wicks begin to glow, and then a steady, almond-shaped flame rises upward. It is a rich, warm amber, flickering slightly as it finds its breath in the oxygen of the tower. You adjust the brass air valves, and the flame stabilizes into a tall, brilliant pillar of light. The nutty perfume of the watch. As the lamp warms, the scent begins to fill the room. In 1850, the use of high-grade spermaceti oil is a luxury of safety. It has a scent unlike any modern fuel. It is deep, earthy, and slightly nutty, reminiscent of toasted buckwheat or warm beeswax. Inhale deeply. The scent is heavy and comforting. It seems to coat the back of your throat with a layer of warmth. It is the smell of man-made sun. As the oil travels up the wicks, drawn by capillary action, it releases this organic aroma, blending with the faint saltiness of the air leaking through the window seams. This is the smell of the lighthouse keeper's life. It is the scent that stays in your hair, your wool coat, and your dreams. It signifies that the light is alive, and as long as you can smell that warm, nutty perfume, the ships at sea are safe. The singing flame. Listen to the lamp. It has a voice, a delicate, continuous hiss that sounds like a tiny waterfall made of air. It is the sound of the oil being converted into energy. It is a white noise so consistent that it becomes part of the silence itself. Unlike the chaotic wind outside or the crashing surf below, the lamp's hiss is perfectly steady. It is a frequency of order. It provides a rhythmic counterpoint to the deep, thumping boom of the Atlantic against the granite ledges. You find yourself leaning closer to the burner, the warmth of the flame radiating against your face like a gentle summer sun. The heat loosens the muscles in your jaw and forehead. You feel the tension of the day melting away, evaporated by the steady glow of the wicks. The prism's magic. Now watch what happens to the light. The flame is small, only a few inches high, but it is surrounded by your perfectly polished glass cathedral.
The prisms take that single amber flame and multiply it, bend it, and throw it out toward the horizon. Suddenly, the lantern room is no longer dark. The interior is bathed in a soft golden radiance that makes the brass fittings glow like molten gold. But the real magic is happening outside. You look through the glass and see the great beam. It is a solid, white path of light that cuts through the darkness for 20 miles. It looks like a physical bridge made of photons, spanning the gap between your solitary tower and the rest of the world. As the rotation clockwork, which we will tend to soon, begins its slow work, the beam starts to sweep across the ocean. You watch the light skip over the white caps of the waves. For a split second, a patch of the Atlantic is illuminated, revealing the churning, frothy green of the water, before the light moves on, plunging that patch back into the comforting dark. The Guardian's warmth. You sit on your small wooden stool beside the lamp. The warmth from the glass and the brass surrounds you like a cocoon. Outside, the Maine winter may be approaching, and the spray may be freezing on the rocks below. But here, in the crown of the tower, it is eternally warm. Your eyes grow heavy as you stare into the center of the flame. It is a hypnotic dance of orange, yellow, and a tiny hint of blue at the base of the wicks. The world outside is vast, cold, and indifferent, but this flame is your responsibility. You are the feeder of the fire. You are the keeper of the scent. You check the oil level in the reservoir. The liquid is clear and thick, shimmering in the light. You feel a sense of profound purpose. The lighthouse isn't just a building, it is a living organism, and you are its soul. The oil, the wick, and the flame are all working in harmony with your own steady breathing. As the night stretches out before you, the scent of the whale oil acts as a tether, keeping you grounded and awake, even as your mind begins to drift on the rhythmic, singing hiss of the light.
The Keeper's Logbook. The desk in the stone. Below the lantern room sits the watch room, a small circular chamber carved directly into the granite. This is your study, your office, and your sanctuary within the sanctuary. In the center of the room stands a heavy mahogany desk, its legs bolted to the floor to keep it steady during the great gales. You sit on a high-backed wooden chair, the wood creaking softly under your weight, a familiar, friendly sound. Before you lies the great logbook. It is a massive volume, bound in salt-toughened leather with brass corners. Its pages are thick, cream-colored parchment, smelling of old linen and the faintest hint of cedar wood. To open this book is to open the history of the ledge. Every storm, every calm, and every passing ship for the last 20 years is recorded here in a steady, disciplined hand. The ritual of the ink. You reach for your inkwell. It is made of heavy blue cobalt glass, sitting in a brass holder. You flip the lid, clink, and the scent of the ink drifts up to meet you. In 1850, ink has a distinct aroma, a sharp, metallic, and slightly vinegary scent mixed with iron gall. It is a smell that represents permanence. Next, you select your quill. It is a large feather from a trumpeter's swan, found on the beach 3 winters ago. The shaft is translucent and strong. You take a small penknife and carefully shave the tip to a perfect point. Shave, shave. The sound of the knife against the feather is a delicate, surgical whisper. You dip the quill into the dark, shimmering well. You watch the ink climb the slit of the nib, held there by the same laws of physics that draw the oil up the lamp's wick. You are ready to translate the night into words. The scratch of the quill. You lean over the page. The light from a small auxiliary oil lamp on the desk casts a long, flickering shadow of your hand across the parchment. You begin to write the date, February 5th, 1850. Scratch, scritch, scratch. Listen to the sound. On the heavy, textured paper, the quill makes a rhythmic, percussive noise. It is a tactile music. You feel the vibration of the paper through the feather. Each letter is a deliberate act. The F is a long, sweeping curve. The B is a sturdy upright. You record the state of the light, burning bright and steady. You record the weather, sky clear, stars sharp, wind from the north-northwest. You record the barometer, 29.9 inches and holding. The act of recording these numbers is incredibly grounding. In a world of shifting tides and unpredictable storms, these measurements are your anchors. They are the truth of the night. As you write, you feel your mind organizing itself. Your thoughts, which may have been as wild as the spray outside, become as orderly as the columns of your logbook. The poetry of the tides. You consult your tide table, a printed sheet of paper pinned to the wall. You calculate the high water for the night, 11:42 p.m. You write it down. As you write the word high tide, you think about the water pressing against the base of the tower, 80 feet below. You think about the crabs huddling in the crevices of the granite and the kelp swaying in the dark currents. The logbook connects you to the entire ecosystem of the Maine coast. You aren't just a man in a tower, you are the recorder of the Atlantic's pulse. Every few lines you pause to blot the ink with a small wooden rocker filled with fine gray sand. Shh, whoosh. You rock the wood over the wet letters, the sand absorbing the excess ink and leaving the words dry and permanent. It is like a miniature wave hitting a beach. The silence of the written word. The watchroom is a place of absolute quiet. The stone walls, 4 feet thick, swallow the roar of the ocean, leaving only the ghost of the sound. In this silence, the scratch of your pen becomes the loudest thing in the world. It is the sound of a human mind communicating with the future. You look back over the pages of the previous month. You see the entries from the night of the Great Freeze, where the ink nearly froze in the well. You see the entry from the night the migrating geese hit the glass of the lantern room. Each page is a memory, a layer of time preserved in iron and oak. You close the inkwell with a final clink. You set the quill down in its brass rest. The entry for the start of the watch is complete. You run your fingers over the dried ink, feeling the slight ridges of the letters against the smooth parchment. The task is done. The night is documented. You feel a sense of completion that travels from your fingertips up to your shoulders, relaxing your neck and spine. The logbook remains open,
a silent witness to your vigil as you prepare to stand and return to the glass crown above.
The Iron Gallery Walk. The threshold of the night. The warmth of the watchroom and the comforting scent of the oil lamp have made you drowsy, your eyelids heavy with the rhythm of the pen. It is time for the gallery walk, the essential ritual of stepping outside to inspect the horizon with your own naked eyes. You pull your heavy bridge coat tight, the thick navy wool smelling of salt and cedar. You grasp the brass handle of the exterior door. It is cold, a deep, biting cold that travels through your glove. You lean your weight against the door, and as it swings open, the Atlantic night rushes in to greet you. The transition is a shock to the senses, but a welcome one. The air is so sharp, so pure, that it feels like a physical presence entering your lungs. It tastes of ice, salt, and the infinite reaches of the North Atlantic. The blue hour has long since passed. The world is now a study in silver and shadow. The singing of the iron. You step out onto the gallery, the narrow, circular walkway made of cast iron plates that surrounds the lantern room. As your boots hit the iron, the sound is entirely different from the muffled stone stairs. Clink, clink, clink. Each step rings out with a clear, sharp note that echoes into the dark abyss below. Listen to the wind. Up here, 80 feet above the surf, the wind doesn't just blow, it sings. As it passes through the iron balusters of the railing and the vents of the lantern dome, it creates a series of harmonic whistles. It is a high-pitched, ghostly music. Wee-oo! Wee-hush! It sounds like 1,000 distant flutes playing a song that only the keepers ever hear. This is the voice of the tower. On a calm night, it is a whisper. In a storm, it is a scream. Tonight, it is a steady, soothing hum that vibrates through the iron deck and into the soles of your feet. You find yourself leaning into the wind, letting it take the weight of your body as you circle the tower. The silver mirror of the sea. You walk to the windward side of the gallery and look out. The sight is enough to steal your breath. The moon, a bright silver coin, hangs high over the ocean, carving a moon glade, a shimmering, flickering path of light that stretches from the horizon all the way to the base of your rock. The waves are no longer dark, they are capped with liquid silver. You watch them break against the granite ledges below. From this height, the foam looks like a field of white flowers blooming and dying in the span of a second. Crash! Shh! The sound is much louder out here. It is a rhythmic, percussive roar that fills the sky. It is the sound of the earth's pulse, heavy and unwavering. You look for the lights of the world. Far to the south, you see the faint, rhythmic pulse of the Monhegan Island light, a tiny, golden star blinking on the horizon. 1, 2, 3, flash. It is a silent signal between brothers, a reminder that you are part of a network of guardians stretching from the Floridas to the Maritimes. You are not alone in the dark. The texture of the cold. You reach out and grip the iron railing. It is wet with sea mist. the fine, invisible spray that travels up the tower. Your glove becomes damp, the wool absorbing the salt. You feel the cold seeping into your fingers, but it isn't an unpleasant sensation. It is a cleansing cold. It wakes up every nerve in your body. It strips away the cobwebs of sleep. You look up at the great eye of the lighthouse from the outside. The Fresnel lens is now a brilliant, rotating jewel. From your position on the gallery, you are just below the beam. You watch the light sweep over your head, a solid white blade of brilliance that cuts through the mist. As it passes, you see the tiny droplets of salt in the air, illuminated like millions of falling diamonds. Then the beam moves on, and you are plunged back into the soft, protective silver of the moonlight. The circular meditation. You begin to walk the circle. 1 lap, 2 laps. The repetition of the circular path, combined with the rhythmic sound of the waves and the singing of the wind, creates a state of walking meditation. Your mind becomes as clear as the horizon. There is no past here. There is no future. There is only the grip of the iron rail, the taste of the salt, and the infinite shimmering Atlantic. You feel the immense power of the ocean, but you do not feel afraid. You are sheltered by the granite. You are part of the light. After your 3rd lap, your face is glowing from the cold, and your breath comes in steady white plumes. You have confirmed the horizon is clear. No ships are in distress. No storms are gathering on the edge of the world. The watch is stable. You turn back towards the heavy iron door. As you pull it shut behind you, the roar of the sea and the singing of the iron are suddenly cut off, replaced by the warm, thick silence of the tower interior. You stand in the doorway for a moment. The salt crust is already beginning to dry on your coat, feeling a deep, heavy peace that only the night wind can provide. The granite kitchen. The descent to the earth. Leaving the silver and iron world of the gallery, you begin the long walk back down the spiral stone stairs. Your legs feel light, and your head is clear from the salt air. As you reach the very base of the tower, you pass through a thick oak door into the keeper's quarters, a small room built directly into the granite foundation. Here, the walls are at their thickest. The roar of the Atlantic is reduced to a vibration you feel in your marrow, a deep, rhythmic thud that makes the teacups on the shelves rattle almost imperceptibly. This is the heart of the home. It smells of dried herbs, sea boots, and the sweet, resinous scent of seasoned pine firewood. The ritual of the fire. In the corner stands a small, 4-legged cast-iron stove. Its belly glows with a soft orange light, casting flickering shadows of the iron grate onto the stone floor. You kneel before it, the joints of your knees making a soft click in the silence. You reach into the wood box and select a split log of Maine white pine. You feel the texture of the bark, rough, flaky, and dry. As you slide it into the stove, it meets the embers with a sudden, joyful crackle pop. Listen to the fire. It is a busy, talkative sound. The wood sighs as the heat releases the sap, and the flames lick the iron with a soft whoosh. The warmth hits your face in a wave, melting the salt chill from your cheeks. You take a small iron poker and stir the coals. Clink, scrape, hiss. The sound of metal on metal is grounding. It is the sound of survival and comfort in a wild place. The singing copper kettle. You take a heavy copper kettle from the side table. It is dented and weathered, having served 3 generations of keepers. You fill it with fresh water from the stone cistern, glug, glug, splash, and set it directly over the hottest part of the stove. Now you wait. This is the quiet minute. You sit in your ladder-back chair, your hands resting on your knees. The kitchen is dimly lit, the only light coming from the glowing seams of the stove. Slowly, the kettle begins to find its voice. It starts as a low, microscopic hum, a vibration that you hear more with your chest than your ears. Then it grows into a steady, rising whistle. Sss. It is a domestic melody, a signal that even here, on a lonely rock in the middle of the ocean, there is civilization. As the steam begins to curl from the spout, it hits the cool air of the room and vanishes into a ghostly mist. The sound of the boiling water is a rhythmic, frantic bubbling, bubble-lap, bubble-lap, a miniature version of the ocean outside, but one that is contained and safe. The scent of the midnight tea. You reach for a tin of loose-leaf black tea. As you pry open the lid, pop, the scent of the dry leaves fills the small space. It is a dark, tannic, and smoky smell, a reminder of far-off lands that ships pass by your tower to reach. You drop a spoonful of leaves into a heavy ceramic mug. The leaves hit the bottom with a tiny chink. You pour the boiling water over them. The transformation is immediate. The steam rises, carrying the scent of the tea, mixed with the smell of the pine smoke from the stove. It is a heavy scent, one that settles the nerves and slows the pulse. You wrap your hands around the warm mug. The heat travels through the ceramic into your palms, through your wrists and up your arms, relaxing every muscle in its path. The safety of the stone. You sip the tea. It is hot, bitter, and perfect. You look at the granite walls around you. They are 4 feet of solid mountain standing between you and the infinite pressure of the sea. From this vantage point, the ocean sounds like a lullaby. The boom of the surf is no longer a threat. It is a rhythm that keeps time for your life. You feel like a hibernating creature in a warm burrow. The iron stove is your sun. The stone walls are your shell. The fire begins to settle, the flames dying down into a steady, pulsing glow of red embers. The kettle has stopped its whistling. The only sound is the rhythmic tick-tick-tick of the metal stove cooling down, and your own steady, slow breathing. The warmth of the tea and the heat of the fire create a gravity in your body. You feel yourself sinking deeper into the chair, your bones feeling as heavy and stable as the granite. You are refueled, you are warmed, you are ready to return to the watch, but for now, you simply exist in this small, glowing circle of peace at the bottom of the world. The midnight mist. The sharp, crisp sounds of the night, the whistling wind and the clanking iron suddenly vanish. They are replaced by a heavy, dampened silence. All sounds are now rounded and distant, as if the world is wrapped in wet wool. The vanishing world. You finish your tea and begin the ascent back to the lantern room. But as you climb the spiral stairs, you notice something strange. The slivers of moonlight that usually pierce through the slit windows have disappeared. The stone shaft is darker than before, the air feeling heavier and more humid. When you emerge into the glass crown, the horizon is gone. The stars have been blotted out. The great moon glade on the water has vanished. In its place is a thick, impenetrable wall of Maine gray, a sea fog so dense that it seems to press against the glass of the lantern room like a physical weight. In the 1850s, this is the keeper's greatest challenge. The mist doesn't just block the light, it swallows it. Your powerful beam, which only an hour ago cut through 20 miles of darkness, is now reflected back at you, creating a ghostly, glowing white halo around the tower. You are no longer in a tower, you are inside a cloud. The muffled symphony. Listen to the change in the atmosphere. The ocean, which was a roaring beast, is now a distant, rhythmic heartbeat. The mist acts as a giant acoustic blanket, absorbing the high-frequency sounds of the spray and the wind. Hush, hush. The sound of the waves hitting the rocks below is no longer a boom. It is a soft, muffled thud, like the sound of a heavy carpet being beaten in a distant room. Even your own movements inside the room are quieter. The clink of your brass tools is dampened. Your breathing sounds louder to your own ears, a slow and steady in and out that matches the pulse of the light. The mist brings a profound sense of isolation. You can no longer see the shore. You can no longer see the other lighthouses. You are an island in a white void. This sensory deprivation has a powerful effect on the mind. It forces you inward. Your world has shrunk to the diameter of the lantern room, and in this small space you find a deep, concentrated peace. The toll of the fog bell. In this era, when the light is obscured, the voice of the rock must take over. You step onto the gallery and reach for the heavy hemp rope connected to the fog bell, a massive 1,000-pound bronze instrument mounted to the exterior masonry. You pull the rope. You feel the tension, the weight of the bronze swinging on its pivot. Then the strike. Bong! The sound is immense. It is a deep, resonant note that vibrates through your very bones. But because of the mist, the sound doesn't echo. It travels out into the white wall and is immediately softened. You wait. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. Then you pull again. Bong! This is the new rhythm of your watch. The light rotates in silence above, while you provide the heartbeat below. The repetition of pulling the rope becomes a physical prayer. Reach, pull, release. Reach, pull, release. Your muscles fall into the habit, your body becoming a part of the clockwork of the tower. The scent of the cloud. The mist carries a different scent than the open sea air. It is wetter, smelling of cold minerals, sodden moss, and the deep, dark heart of the Atlantic. It is a heavy, primeval smell. As the mist drifts through the iron vents, it coats the brass of the lamp in a fine, microscopic dew. You reach out and touch the glass of the lens. It is cold and wet. You take a dry cloth and wipe a small patch. Shh, wipe. The moisture is gone for a second, then immediately begins to bead up again. The world is trying to turn everything back into water. There is a strange comfort in this dampness. It feels like the world is being washed clean. The dust of the day, the memories of the mainland, the noise of life, all of it is being dissolved in this great white silence. You feel your own edges blurring. You are not just a keeper. You are a part of the fog, a part of the stone, a part of the night. The ghostly light. You watch the beam of the light as it tries to fight the mist. It looks like a giant luminous finger poking at a white curtain. Every time the beam passes over the fog, it creates a light show of swirling vapors. You see the fog moving in slow, silent eddies, dancing in the brilliance of the lamp. It is hypnotic. You find yourself staring at the swirling mist, watching the patterns form and dissolve. It looks like marble. It looks like silk. It looks like the breath of the ocean itself. Your eyelids grow heavy. The bong of the bell, the hush of the muffled waves, and the swirl of the white light all combine to create a dreamlike state. You are the only person awake in a world that has been erased. You are safe. You are hidden. You are the pilot of a stone ship sailing through a sea of clouds. As the midnight hour passes, you settle into the rhythm of the bell, the damp air cooling your skin, and the deep, resonant notes of the bronze echoing in the hollow of your chest, leading you towards the deepest, most quiet part of the watch.
The ticking clockwork. The muffled silence of the fog remains, but a new sound rises to the foreground. A slow, rhythmic tick-tock, tick-tock of heavy brass gears, followed by the low-frequency whir of a governor flyball spinning in the air. The engine of the light. While the lamp provides the fire, it is the clockwork that provides the life. In 1850, the Fresnel lens does not sit still. It rotates with a majestic, unstoppable precision. To achieve this, the entire several-ton assembly of glass and bronze floats on a bed of polished steel rollers, driven by a system of weights and gears that mirror the internal workings of a giant grandfather clock. You stand at the base of the lens pedestal. Here, housed in a gleaming brass and plate glass, is the movement. It is a masterpiece of Victorian engineering. Hundreds of interlocking teeth, carved from hard yellow brass, mesh together in a silent, oily dance. The sound is the very definition of order. Tick, pause, tock. It is a heavy, metallic sound, not the tinny click of a pocket watch, but a deep, resonant strike that you can feel in the floorboards. It tells you that time is passing not in seconds, but in degrees of rotation. Every tick is a foot of light moved across the distant horizon. The rhythmic whir. At the top of the gear train sits the governor. This is a set of two brass balls on hinged arms that spin rapidly as the weights descend. As they spin, they catch the air, creating a soft, continuous whir. Listen to that sound. It is a high-pitched, steady hum that sits just above the deep roar of the ocean. It is a mechanical purr. It signifies that the speed is perfect. If the whir rises in pitch, the light is spinning too fast. If it drops, the light is sluggish. You lean your ear closer to the glass casing. You can hear the individual songs of the gears. There is the low, grinding bass of the main drive wheel and the silver staccato chatter of the escapement. Together, they create a mechanical symphony that is incredibly soothing. It is a world where everything fits, where every action has a reaction, and where the path is always circular and certain. The descent of the weights. The power for this movement comes from gravity itself. A heavy set of lead weights weighing hundreds of pounds is suspended by a braided steel cable. These weights hang in a narrow, dark shaft that runs the entire height of the lighthouse tower. As the clockwork ticks, the weights slowly, almost imperceptibly, descend toward the ground. You watch the cable move. It doesn't look like it's moving at all, but if you place your finger against it, you can feel a tiny rhythmic tug with every tick of the gears. This is the pulse of the tower.
The weights are pulling the light, and the light is pulling your attention. Every 4 hours you must wind the light, using a large iron crank to pull the weights back up to the top. But for now, they are in the middle of their journey, falling through the dark stone heart of the lighthouse at the speed of a growing leaf. The oil and the metal. The scent here is different from the nutty whale oil of the lamp. This is the smell of machine peace. It is the scent of heavy lubricating oil, cold brass, and the dry metallic tang of the steel cable. It is a clean smell, one that speaks of maintenance and care. You take a small brass oil can with a long, elegant neck. You find a tiny oil hole in one of the bearing blocks. Squeeze, drip. You watch a single golden drop of oil vanish into the machinery. The sound of the gears changes instantly. The tick becomes softer, more cushioned. The whir becomes a liquid silk. There is a profound satisfaction in this act of care. You are the one who keeps the friction at bay. You are the one who ensures that the giant glass beehive above continues its endless smooth journey through the night. Mechanical hypnosis. You sit on the floor beside the clockwork cabinet, your back against the cool granite wall. You watch the gears turn. The large wheel turns once every minute. The small wheel turns once every 10 seconds. The escapement clicks every second. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Your eyes begin to follow the brass teeth as they meet and part. It is a visual lullaby. Your eyelids grow heavy in sync with the movement. The repetitive nature of the machinery acts as a metronome for your thoughts. The worries of the day, the leaking roof of the oil house, the delayed supply ship, all of them are caught in the gears and ground down to nothingness. You are no longer a person with a name or a history. You are merely a part of the movement. You are the observer of the gears, the winder of the weights, and the guardian of the rhythm. The tower is ticking. The light is turning. The world is in its place. As you sit in the warm, oily shadows of the watchroom, the steady tick-tock of the 1850s clockwork carries you deeper into a state of mechanical grace, where the only thing that matters is the next tooth, the next gear, and the next perfect rotation of the light. The storm's lullaby. The arrival of the rain. The midnight mist has begun to heavy and cool, coalescing into the first true rain of the night. It starts as a delicate silvery whisper, a fine spray that dances against the thick curved panes of a lantern room. Pitter, pitter, patter. Within minutes, the drizzle transforms into a steady, rhythmic downpour. This is a Maine coastal rain, born in the cold currents of the North Atlantic. It doesn't fall straight down. It is driven by the wind, lashing against the glass in sheets. But here, 80 feet above the sea, behind glass that is nearly an inch thick, the sound is not a roar, it is a lullaby. The rain hits the glass and shatters into 1,000 crystalline rivulets. As you watch, the light of the lamp catches these streams of water, turning the windows into a moving curtain of liquid diamonds. The world outside is blurred, distorted by the moving water, making your sanctuary feel even more private, even more hidden from the rest of the world. The fortress of granite. Listen to the thrum. When the wind picks up and hits a lighthouse, the building doesn't shake like a wooden house. Instead, it sings. The massive granite blocks, interlocked with iron toggles and hydraulic cement, absorb the energy of the wind and turn it into a low-frequency vibration. It is a sound you feel in the soles of your feet and the base of your skull. It is the sound of absolute stability. You are inside a man-made mountain. The gale may be howling outside, the waves may be throwing white foam halfway up the tower's height, but inside, the flame of the lamp doesn't even flicker. The tea in your mug doesn't show a single ripple. This contrast, the chaos of the elements versus the stillness of the stone, creates a profound sense of interior peace. You feel tucked in. The more the storm rages, the more comfortable your small, warm circle of light becomes. You are the center of the storm, the one point in the Atlantic that is not moving. The rhythmic wash. The ocean sound has changed again. The muffled thuds of the fog have been replaced by the sharp cracks of a rising sea. Every few seconds, a particularly large wave hits the ledges at the base of the tower. Boom! Shh! First comes the impact, a deep bass note that sounds like a distant cannon. Then the long, drawn-out sound of the water cascading back down the rocks. Because of the rain, the sound is wetter, a complex layers of splashes and gurgles. You find yourself timing your breathing to these impacts. Inhale as the wave gathers. Hold as it hits. Exhale as the water slides back into the dark. It is a primal rhythm, one that speaks to the oldest parts of the human brain. It is the rhythm of the cradle. The scent of wet iron and wool. The atmosphere inside the lantern room is now heavy with a specific comforting aroma. It is the scent of damp wool from your coat drying slowly in the heat of the lamp. It is the smell of wet iron from the gallery door and the clean mineral scent of the rain-washed air leaking through the vents. Combined with the nutty perfume of the whale oil, this creates the keeper's bouquet. It is a scent that says, the work is done, the light is burning, you are safe. You pull your collar up around your neck, the scratchy warmth of the wool, a perfect counterpoint to the cold, wet world just inches away on the other side of the glass. Surrendering to the stone. You sit on your stool, resting your head back against the white-painted masonry of the inner wall. The stone is cool, but the air around you is warm. You close your eyes and let the sounds of the night wash over you. The tick-tock of the gears, the hiss of the flame, the patter of the rain, the thrum of the wind, the boom of the sea. All of these sounds are moving in a slow, interlocking harmony. They are not competing. They are a symphony of the watch. Your mind, which might have been busy with thoughts an hour ago, is now quiet. You are no longer thinking. You are simply sensing. You feel the heaviness of sleep beginning to tug at your limbs. It is a safe sleep, a deep sleep, protected by 100 feet of granite and 1,000 pounds of glass. The storm is not your enemy. Tonight, the storm is your blanket. It isolates you from the world, hides you in its gray skirts, and sings you a song of the deep, dark, and wonderful North Atlantic.
A Maine Lighthouse Story, 1850. The tide pools at dawn. Audio note. The heavy thrum of the wind and the patter of the rain fade into a singular, high-frequency sound. The delicate musical drip, drip, drip of rainwater falling from the iron gallery into the stone pools below. The great stillness. The storm has moved inland,
leaving behind a world that feels as though it has been scrubbed clean. The heavy, oppressive Maine gray fog has lifted, and in its place is an air so thin and clear it feels like breathing through silk. You stand once more on the gallery, looking down as the tide begins its long, slow retreat from the base of the tower. This is the hour of the low watch. The ocean, once a chaotic wall of white foam, has settled into a rhythmic, emerald green swell. As the water recedes, it reveals the secret world of the ledges, the jagged granite foundations of your home. In the hollows of these rocks, the retreating tide has left behind hundreds of tide pools. In the pre-dawn light, they look like scattered mirrors of liquid glass, perfectly still and protected from the outer currents. The symphony of the drip. Listen to the sounds of this new world. The roar has been replaced by the tiny music. Because the lighthouse is saturated with the night's rain, the entire structure is weeping. Tink, plop, drip. The water falls from the iron railings, hitting the tide pools below with a variety of musical notes. If it hits a deep pool, it makes a hollow glup. If it hits a flat stone, it makes a sharp tap. If it hits a bed of wet kelp, it makes a soft, cushioned shh. This is a random, natural melody. It is the sound of the earth drying itself. You find yourself leaning over the railing, closing your eyes, and trying to follow a single drop of water from the iron eaves all the way down to its destination. It is an exercise in extreme focus. Each drip is a tiny, watery second passing by. The world is not in a hurry to wake up. It is lingering in this damp, musical peace. The microscopic universe. You take your brass spyglass and aim it downward, focusing on a single large tide pool nestled in a cleft of pink granite. Through the lens, the pool becomes a vast, clear universe. You see the sea grapes, dark, translucent bladders of kelp swaying in the microscopic currents. You see a tiny hermit crab, no larger than a button, making its slow, clacking way across a forest of neon green sea lettuce. Scritch, scritch. Even from 80 feet up, in the absolute silence of the morning, you can almost hear the delicate movement of life. The water in these pools is so clear it seems invisible. It is a liquid air. You watch a sea anemone slowly unfold its tentacles, looking like a blooming flower in a garden of stone. There is a profound sense of rightness in this scene. The storm was violent, yes, but it provided the water that these tiny creatures need to survive. The chaos was necessary for the calm. The scent of the shoreline. The air rising from the receding tide is rich and complex. It is no longer the cold metal scent of the rain, but the warm life scent of the shoreline. It smells of salt-crusted granite, drying rockweed, and the sweet, ozone-heavy breath of the deep Atlantic. It is a scent that feels nutritious, as if you are breathing in the vitality of the ocean itself. It clears away the last of the whale oil fumes from your lungs. It is the scent of a new beginning. You feel a lightness in your chest, a sense of relief that the night has been survived and the world is still here, beautiful and intact. The first hint of rose. As you watch the tide pools, the light begins to change. The sky to the east, over the open Atlantic, is no longer black. It has softened into a pale, ghostly gray, then a faint, shimmering lavender. Along the very edge of the water, a thin line of morning rose begins to glow. The tide pools catch this light first. They turn from silver to pink, reflecting the birth of the day. The great beam of your lighthouse is still sweeping overhead, but it looks paler now, its job almost finished. You watch the beam pass over a tide pool, and for a fraction of a second, the water flashes like a signal fire before returning to its soft, rose-colored dream. The weight of the morning. You feel a heavy, comfortable lethargy in your limbs. The adrenaline of the storm is gone, replaced by the sweet exhaustion of a successful watch. You lean your arms on the cool, damp iron of the railing. The world is waking up, but it is doing so with a whisper. The gulls are beginning to stir, their white shapes moving like ghosts over the dark water. You hear the first long, lonely ki-ra that echoes off the stone tower. It is a sound of homecoming. You are the only human witness to this transition. You have seen the night through its darkest, wettest, and loudest moments, and now you are being rewarded with the silver and rose silence of the low tide. You feel a deep, quiet pride in your heart. The light is still burning. The ships are safe. The tide is out. You take one more deep breath of the salt air, your eyes tracing the line of the horizon, ready to descend and witness the sun rising over the edge of your world. The morning extinguishing. The pale dawn. The world has become a study in watercolors. The sharp, obsidian edges of the night have melted into a soft palette of pearl gray, hazy gold, and a very faint, translucent blue. To the east, the sun is still a secret behind the horizon, but its presence is felt in the way the atmosphere has begun to glow. You stand in the lantern room, the air inside still warm from the night's long burn. The great Fresnel lens continues its tireless rotation, but its beam is now a ghost of its former self. Against the growing daylight, the light looks pale, like a candle held up to the sun. It is time. The watch of the 1850s keeper follows the sun. When the master light rises, the servant light must rest. The final turn of the valves. You approach the central lamp with a sense of reverence. This flame has been your companion for 12 hours. It has seen you through the fog, the storm, and the deep midnight silence. You reach for the small brass wheels at the base of the burner, the wick adjusters. Creak, scritch, creak. You turn the wheels slowly. As the cotton wicks descend back into the brass tubes, the 4 concentric rings of fire begin to shrink. You don't blow them out, you sink them. You watch as the brilliant orange pillar of light collapses into a soft blue glow, then a tiny golden spark, and finally, with a soft, microscopic hiss, it vanishes entirely. The sudden absence of the flame is striking. The singing of the lamp stops. The warmth that has been radiating against your face for hours begins to dissipate. The lantern room feels larger, emptier, and quieter. You reach for the oil shutoff, a heavy lever that cuts the flow of the spermaceti oil. Clack! The liquid stops its upward journey. The heart of the tower has stopped beating, and a profound, heavy silence settles over the room. The halting of the gears. Next, you move to the clockwork pedestal. The weights have nearly reached the bottom of their long, dark shaft. The tick-tock, tick of the gears is still steady, but you reach out and engage the friction brake, a leather-padded lever that presses against the main drive wheel. Thump! The great rotation slows. You watch the tons of glass and bronze lose their momentum. The rainbows that have been dancing on the walls for hours slow their pace, then crawl, then stop. The lens comes to rest in its home position, the massive central bullseye facing the west. For the first time since sunset, the lighthouse is still. The silence is now absolute, broken only by the distant rhythmic tap-tap of a woodpecker in the mainland pines miles away. This stillness is heavy. It feels like a physical weight on your shoulders, a signal to your nervous system that the vigil is over. The scent of the cold wick. As the lamp cools, a new scent replaces the nutty perfume of the burning oil. It is the smell of extinguished heat, a mixture of charred cotton, warm brass, and the faint, smoky trail of a dying flame. It is a nostalgic, sleepy scent. It is the smell of a task completed. You take a small brass snuffer and cap the wicks to prevent any lingering smolder. The smell of the smoke is thin and white, drifting upward toward the iron vents. You inhale it one last time, a sensory bookend to your night. Every muscle in your body, which has been alert and tense since the first climb up the stairs, now begins to unravel. The shroud of the lens. To protect the precious glass from the magnifying power of the morning sun, you must shroud the lens. You take several large panels of heavy linen, white and soft from years of use. One by one, you hook them onto the bronze framework of the lens. Flump, swish, click. The linen covers the glass, turning the great eye into a ghostly white shape. The lantern room is now filled with a soft, diffused light, like a bedroom with the curtains drawn. This is the keeper's morning. While the rest of the world is waking up to the brilliance of the sun, you are creating your own artificial twilight. You look around the room. The brass is polished, the glass is shrouded, the oil is saved, the logbook is closed. You have kept the faith. You have held the line between the land and the sea. The final descent. You pick up your empty oil can and your cleaning kit. Your boots make a different sound on the iron ladder now, not the eager clank of the ascent, but a slow, heavy thud of a man who is ready for his bed. As you descend the stone spiral, the tower feels different in the daylight. You can see the dust motes dancing in the slit windows. You can see the texture of the granite. The magic of the night is being replaced by the reality of the day, but the peace you found in the dark remains within you. You reach the bottom. You step into your small kitchen, where the embers of the stove are now cold and gray. You don't need a fire now. You need the cool, dark comfort of your bed under the eaves. You pull off your heavy boots, thump, thump, and feel the cool floorboards against your feet. The watch is over. The Atlantic is silent. The light is resting. And as you pull the heavy wool blankets up to your chin, the last thing you hear is the faint rhythmic shh of the tide, whispering to the rocks that the keeper is finally, safely asleep. The dream of the sea. The softening of reality. You lie in your narrow bed, tucked under the eaves of the keeper's cottage at the base of the tower. The room is dark, save for a single sliver of morning light peeking through the heavy canvas curtains. The world of 1850 is distant now. The responsibility of the oil, the precision of the gears, and the biting chill of the gallery have all been left at the door. As you close your eyes, the physical sensations of the night begin to change. Your body still feels the phantom vibration of the stone tower. It feels as though you are still floating, suspended between the granite and the sky. This is the keeper's sway, the sensation that the earth itself is moving in time with the swells of the Atlantic. It is not dizzying, it is grounding. It is the feeling of being rocked in a giant stone cradle. The echoes of the watch. In this half-sleep state, the sounds of the night begin to play back in your mind, but they are no longer soft, filtered through the layers of your subconscious. You hear the tick-tock of the clockwork, but it no longer sounds like brass and steel. It sounds like the steady, slow dripping of water in a deep cave. You hear the shh of the waves, but they no longer sound like water hitting rocks. They sound like the collective breathing of everyone you have ever known, rising and falling in perfect unison. The memory of the great beam passes behind your eyelids. Even with your eyes closed, you see the rhythmic sweep of the light. It is a soft, golden pulse that illuminates your thoughts for a second before fading into a comfortable, velvety black. Flash, darkness, flash. It is a visual metronome, slowing down your brain waves, guiding you away from the analytical thoughts of the day and into the abstract beauty of the dream. The weight of the wool. The blankets over you are heavy. They are made of thick, unprocessed wool, smelling faintly of the wood smoke from the kitchen and the clean, cold air of the Maine coast. The weight is therapeutic. It presses against your chest and legs, anchoring you to the mattress. You feel the heavy limbs sensation. It starts at your toes and moves upward, a warm, leaden feeling that makes it impossible to move and even more impossible to want to move. You're becoming a part of the architecture. Your bones feel as solid as the granite foundations, your breath as steady as the tide. You are no longer you are the sentinel, at rest. The submerged mind. As you drift deeper, your mind begins to sink below the surface of the sea. In your dream, you are no longer at the top of the tower looking down. You are at the bottom of the ocean looking up. You see the hull of the lighthouse rising through the water like the trunk of a giant stone tree. You see the light from the lantern room far above, shimmering through the water like a distant star. Down here, everything is blue and silent. The roar of the storm is gone, replaced by a deep, pressurized quiet. You watch the kelp forests sway in slow motion, their long fronds waving goodnight to the world above. This is the ultimate solitude. There are no clocks here. There is no log to keep. There is only the infinite, cool blue. You feel a sense of weightlessness, as if the water is holding you up, protecting you from the gravity of your duties. The final anchor. A final sound drifts into your room from the outside, the distant melodic clink of a buoy bell floating in the harbor. Tink, tunk. It is a lonely, beautiful sound,
the final punctuation mark on your day. It reminds you that the world is being looked after. The buoys are watching the rocks. The sun is watching the sky. The waves are watching the shore. You are free to let go. You have handed over the keys of the world to the morning. Your breathing now is deep, slow, and automatic. The space between your thoughts grows wider and wider until there is only the sound of the sea, a sound that has no beginning and no end. You are drifting out on the tide of sleep, a solitary watcher finally finding rest in the heart of the North Atlantic.
The winter freeze. In the deep midwinter of 1850, the Maine coast undergoes a transformation that feels like magic. In your dream, you stand upon the gallery, but the world you know has been encased in glass. The previous night's gale didn't just bring rain, it brought a flash freeze. Every drop of salt spray that hit the tower has frozen instantly. The lighthouse is no longer made of gray granite. It is clothed in a shimmering armor of translucent ice, 3 inches thick. The iron railings are encrusted with ice feathers, long, delicate needles of frozen mist that point away from the wind like the wings of a winter bird. The world is white, silver, and a cold, piercing blue. The ledges below are hidden under massive, rounded humps of ice that look like sleeping white whales. This is the great silence. The ice has swallowed the echoes. The world feels brittle, as if a single loud sound might shatter the horizon. The singing of the frozen sea. Listen to the ocean now. It sounds different when it is near the freezing point. The water is heavy. It moves like liquid lead, thick and viscous. There are no whitecaps, only slow rolling swells that carry pancake ice, circular discs of frozen sea that clink together with a sound like breaking porcelain. Chime, tink, clatter. As the tide moves these ice discs, they rub against the base of the tower. It is a rhythmic grinding sound, a low-pitched crunch followed by a delicate tinkle. It is the music of a world in stasis. The ocean is trying to turn into land, and the land is trying to disappear into the ice. You find this sound incredibly sedating. It is the sound of slow motion. Everything has been slowed down by the cold. The molecules of the world are huddling together, and your own thoughts follow suit, becoming still, clear, and quiet. The frost-etched glass. Inside the lantern room, the heat of the lamp fights against the exterior cold. This battle creates frost ferns on the thick glass panes. You watch as the ice crystals grow in real time, branching out like delicate silver lace across the window. When the great beam of the light passes through these frost ferns, it is shattered into a billion tiny sparks. The lighthouse doesn't just send out a beam, it sends out a dust of light. It looks as though the lighthouse is breathing out diamonds into the freezing night. You reach out a gloved hand and touch the interior of the glass. It is humming. The temperature difference between the warm air inside and the sub-zero wind outside creates a vibration, a high-frequency singing glass note. It is a pure, clean sound. It reminds you that even in the harshest cold, the center of the tower remains a place of warmth and life. The scent of the north wind. This air in this dream is the purest you have ever smelled. It has no scent of earth, no scent of trees, and no scent of decay. It is aseptic. It smells of ozone, crushed ice, and the deep, dark vacuum of space. It is so cold that it feels sweet at the back of your throat. This cold is not an enemy. In the dream, you are immune to its bite. You feel only its clarity. It strips away the heaviness of the humid summer nights and the dampness of the autumn fogs. It leaves you feeling light, transparent, and crystalline. You feel as though your own mind has been frozen into a perfect, flawless diamond, ordered, bright, and calm. The White Lullaby. You look toward the mainland. The pine forests are heavy with snow, looking like a line of white-robed monks standing in silent prayer. There are no lights in the village. Everyone is tucked deep under quilts, their breaths rising in white plumes from their chimneys. The isolation of the lighthouse is now absolute. The ice bridge has cut you off from the water, and the snow has cut you off from the land. You are the only moving thing in a frozen universe. This realization brings a final deep wave of relaxation. There is nothing to do but watch. There are no ships at sea. The harbors are frozen shut. Your light is a signal to the stars themselves. You feel the winter sleep taking hold. It is a deep, hibernating rest. You sink into the white landscape of your dream, feeling the cool, soft weight of the snow and the rhythmic, musical clinking of the ice disks. The world is a silent, frozen cathedral, and you are its sleeping heart. The light continues to turn, a golden pulse in a white world, guarding the frozen silence of the Maine coast. The Keeper's Library. The Sanctuary of Ink. Deep in the heart of the winter watch, when the ice has locked the world in a silent embrace, the keeper retreats to the library corner. This is not a grand room, but a small alcove carved into the curve of the watchroom, lined with shelves made of dark, salt-cured oak. In 1850, books are more than just objects. They are companions. They are the voices of the mainland, the echoes of history, and the only bridge to the world of men. As you reach for a volume, your fingers brush over the spines, leather, cloth, and vellum. Some are smooth and cold, others are pebbled and warm. Each one has its own weight, its own gravity in the silence of the tower. You select a thick, leather-bound volume of natural history. As you pull it from the shelf, there is a soft, friction-filled slide, the sound of one world leaving another. You bring it to the small desk where a dedicated reading lamp, a miniature version of the great light above, awaits. The music of the page. Listen to the sounds of reading. It begins with the opening of the cover. Creak, snap. The old glue and the leather hinges protest slightly, a sound that feels like a greeting. Then the turning of the pages. In 1850, paper is not the thin, bleached pulp of the future. It is rag paper, thick and textured, made from linen and cotton. As you turn a page, it doesn't just flip, it crackles. It is a dry, percussive sound, like the breaking of a thin wafer or the rustle of autumn leaves in a quiet wood. Crinkle, swish, hush. You run your thumb along the edge of the paper. It is rough and deckled. The ink of the text is slightly raised, and you can feel the physical impression of the printing press, the kiss of the lead type on the page. This tactile connection to the words makes the stories feel real, as if the author is speaking directly into the quiet air of the tower. The scent of ancient woods. As the book warms in the light of the lamp, it begins to breathe. The scent is intoxicating to a tired mind. It is a mixture of old paper, that sweet vanilla-like smell of decaying lignin, and the bitter ink. There is also a hint of the sea damp that has seeped into the covers, giving the book a faint, briny undertone. This is the smell of stilled time. It is a scent that slows your heart rate. It reminds you that while the ocean is chaotic and the wind is wild, the thoughts of men can be captured, bound, and kept safe. You inhale deeply, the aroma of the library acting as a mental sedative, clearing away the sharp metallic stress of the storm and replacing it with a soft, dusty comfort. The journey within. You begin to read. The text describes the flora of the South Seas, islands you will never visit, trees you will never climb. But in the silence of the lighthouse, your imagination is a powerful engine. The scratch of your own breathing becomes the sound of the wind in the palm leaves. The thud of a distant wave becomes the sound of a tropical coconut falling on the sand. The lighthouse is no longer a prison of stone. It is a vessel of the mind. You are traveling without moving. You find yourself rereading the same paragraph, not because you didn't understand it, but because the rhythm of the words is so soothing. The Victorian prose is long and flowing, with sentences that wind like the spiral stairs of your tower. You follow the curves of the commas and the weight of the periods. Your eyes move in a slow, rhythmic S pattern across the page, a visual lullaby that mimics the movement of the great lens above. The closing of the day. The night wears on. The candle on your desk has burned down, leaving a small pool of liquid wax that glows like an opal. You reach the end of a chapter. You feel a sense of profound mental fullness. You have fed your mind, just as you have fed the lamp. You close the book. Thump. The sound is solid and final. It marks the end of your intellectual watch. You sit for a moment in the silence, your hand resting on the leather cover. You feel the connection between the small light of the book and the great light above. Both are guides. Both are markers in the dark. You return the volume to its shelf, the slide of the book back into its place, sounding like a secret being tucked away. The library remains there, a silent audience of thinkers and poets, guarding your subconscious as you prepare to leave the world of words and enter the world of dreams. You feel a deep, heavy peace, the peace of a man who has traveled the world from the comfort of a stone tower. The Keeper's Clock. The heartbeat of the house. In the corner of your small granite-walled kitchen stands the master clock. It is a tall, stately piece of furniture, handcrafted from dark cherry wood that has deepened into a rich oxblood color over the decades. In the 1850s, this clock is more than a timepiece. It is the commander of your life. It tells you when to climb the stairs, when to trim the wicks, and when to record the world in your log. As you lie in the drift of your dream, your focus narrows down to the rhythmic pulse of this wooden tower. The clock has a soul made of brass and gravity. You can hear the heavy lead weights hanging behind the door, pulling downward with an invisible, constant force. It is the sound of inevitability. Time does not rush here. It marches with the dignity of the tides. The pendulum sway. Listen to the talk. It is a deep, resonant sound, softened by the cherry wood casing. It isn't the sharp click of a modern machine. It is a thudding sound, like a heartbeat heard through a thick pillow. Talk, pause, tick. Inside the case, the great brass pendulum swings in a slow, graceful arc. You can imagine it, a polished golden disc moving through the shadows. Swish, swish. It moves against the air with a microscopic friction, a sound so faint it is almost a feeling. This rhythmic swaying is the ultimate hypnotic tool. Your mind begins to follow the pendulum back and forth, back and forth. The world outside may be a chaos of storms and shifting currents, but inside the clock, everything is measured, everything is certain. The pendulum doesn't care about the wind. It doesn't care about the height of the waves. It only cares about the gravity of the earth and the length of its own brass rod. This steadfastness is incredibly comforting. It tells you that the universe has rules, and as long as the clock is ticking, the world is in balance. The whir of the gears. Every few minutes, the clock performs a small internal adjustment. You hear a soft metallic whir clack. This is the sound of the escapement wheel moving forward tooth by tooth. This sound is a mechanical whisper. It is the sound of precision. You think about the clockmaker in a small shop on the mainland, filing each tooth of the brass gears by hand. You can feel that human touch in the rhythm. It is a caring sound. The clock is looking after you, keeping the night organized so that you don't have to. You surrender your sense of time to the cherrywood tower, letting it carry the burden of the hours for you. The scent of the clock case. If you were to lean close to the clock, you would smell a specific nostalgic perfume. It is the scent of linseed oil used to polish the wood, mixed with the metallic tang of the brass weights. There is also the faint, dry smell of old dust, the tiny particles of time that have settled inside the case over the years. It is a stagnant smell in the best way possible. It smells of permanence. It smells like a house that has stood for 100 years and will stand for 100 more. This scent acts as a mental anchor. It pulls you out of the fluid world of the ocean and into the solid world of the home. It is the smell of safety. The midnight chime. Then the moment of transition arrives. You hear a sudden sharp click as the internal levers engage. There is a moment of expectant silence, a held breath in the machinery, and then the strike. Bong! The chime is a deep cathedral-like note. The copper coil inside the clock vibrates, sending a wave of sound through the wooden case, into the stone floor, and through the legs of your bed. You feel the note in your chest. It is a pure sound, free of the white noise of the wind. Bong! 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 Each strike is a reminder of your success. You have survived another hour. The light has stayed lit. The world has turned. As the final echo of the chime fades away, it leaves behind a silence that is even deeper than before, a vibrating silence that rings in your ears like a distant bell. The lantern room's silence. The crystalline void. In the dream of the deep watch, you find yourself standing once more in the glass crown of the tower. It is 3 a.m., the hour the old keepers called the dead man's watch. It is the moment when the world is at its coldest and the human spirit is at its most solitary. But tonight there is no fear. The lantern room is a bubble of absolute clarity, suspended in a sea of ink. Because you have polished the glass so perfectly, the panes seem to vanish. You aren't standing in a room, you are standing on a pedestal in the center of the universe. The stars don't look like distant lights, they look like burning holes in a black velvet curtain, so close you could reach out and pluck them like cold diamonds. The singing of the vacuum. Listen to the high silence. In the 1850s, without the hum of electricity or the roar of engines, the silence has a texture. It isn't an absence of sound, it is a presence. It is a high-pitched microscopic ringing, the sound of the wind rubbing against the rounded edges of the tower. It is a white sound, smooth and featureless. It washes over your mind like a soft brush, smoothing out the wrinkles of thought. You find that you can hear things you never noticed before. The faint tink of the brass frame as it contracts in the night chill. The soft rustle of your own eyelashes against your cheek. The rhythmic oceanic whoosh of the blood moving through your own ears. You are the only instrument playing in this vast, dark concert hall. The ghostly rotation. Above you, the great lens continues its silent, majestic dance. Because the lamp is shrouded in this part of your dream, the lens doesn't throw a beam. Instead, it catches the starlight. As the prisms rotate, they gather the light of Orion and the Pleiades, bending it and scattering it across the floor in ghostly silver patterns. These are star shadows. They move with a slow, liquid grace, sliding over your boots and up the white-painted walls. You watch a single ray of light from Sirius travel through 1,000 pounds of glass and land on your hand. It is a light that has traveled for years just to meet you in this tower. You feel a profound sense of connection. You are the point where the infinite meets the earth. The scent of the stars. The air in the lantern room has cooled now. The smell of the whale oil has faded into a faint, sweet memory. The dominant scent is ozone and cold mineral. It smells like a mountaintop. It is a scent that feels blue. When you inhale, the air feels thin and sharp, as if it is made of pulverized crystal. It cleanses the last of the heavy earth smells from your senses. You feel light. You feel as though the gravity of the stone tower has loosened its grip. In the silence of the 1850 watch, you aren't just a man, you are a witness to the mechanics of the heavens. The weightless peace. You lean your forehead against the cool glass. The contract is a bridge between the warmth of your skin and the absolute zero of the outer night. This contrast, the thermal kiss, is the final trigger for your deep relaxation. Your mind enters a state of stasis. You aren't thinking about the next hour, or the next day, or the next year. You are simply occupying the moment. You feel the immense, heavy peace of the granite tower beneath you, anchoring you to the planet, while your spirit drifts upward through the glass and into the dark, silent reaches of the Milky Way. The living silence of the lantern room is a blanket. It protects you from the noise of the world. It protects you from the noise of yourself. You are the keeper of the silence as much as you are the keeper of the light. As the constellations turn in their slow, eternal arcs, you find the still point. You are the center of the circle. You are the heart of the night. You close your eyes in the dream, the silver star shadows dancing behind your eyelids, the high-pitched song of the wind lulling you into the deepest, most sacred part of your rest. The tower is still. The stars are bright. The watch is at peace. The infinite horizon. The birth of the gold. You stand at the edge of your dream, perched on the gallery of the tower one final time. The 1850 night has performed its duty. It has been the dark vessel for your rest. To the east, the thin line of rose has widened into a vast glowing band of apricot and molten gold. The great eye of the lighthouse is dark now, its work complete, as the sun begins to climb over the edge of the world. Watch the light return to the Atlantic. It doesn't happen all at once. First, the crests of the waves catch the fire, turning into flickering lines of orange. Then, the spray hitting the rocks becomes a mist of liquid gold. Finally, the infinite horizon, that sharp, straight line where the sea meets the sky, is carved in brilliant, blinding light. The final symphony. Listen to the morning chorus. The silence of the deep watch is broken by the sounds of a world returning to life. Kriya! Kriya! The gulls are up, their wings flashing white as they wheel in the new sun. The waves have found a new rhythm, the flood tide. It is a heavy, confident sound. Thump. Shh. The water is reclaiming the tide pools, covering the sea grapes and the hermit crabs, bringing fresh oxygen and cold life to the ledges. You hear the distant chug splash of a fisherman's dory as it leaves the harbor, the rhythmic dip of the oars hitting the water. Plip, dip, plip, dip. It is a human sound, a signal that the solitude of the night is over. But you carry the quiet of the watch inside you like a secret treasure. The world is waking up to noise, but you are waking up to peace. The dissolving tower. In this final moment of the dream, the lighthouse itself begins to soften. The granite walls, which felt so heavy and solid, now seem to be made of light. The iron railings, the glass prisms, the brass gears, All of it is being absorbed into the brilliance of the morning. You feel yourself dissolving as well. The you that was tired, the you that was cold, and the you that was worried have all evaporated with the midnight mist. What remains is a sense of pure being. You are the warmth of the sun on the stone. You are the salt in the breeze. You are the rhythm of the tide. The eternal anchor. You look back at the tower one last time. It stands tall, white, and silent, a monument to the night you have just shared. It is your anchor in time. No matter how much the world changes, the 1850 light will always be there in your mind, ticking its brass heart, burning its nutty oil, and guarding the silent Maine coast. You take one final deep and effortless breath. The air is sweet with the scent of the sea and the promise of the day. You feel a profound sense of grace. You have been the keeper. You have seen the stars through the glass. You have felt the storm and found the calm. The final sleep. The gold of the sun becomes a soft, warm white. It fills your vision until there are no shadows left. The sound of the waves becomes a singular vibrating note, the of the ocean. You let go of the railing. You let go of the dream. You let go of the words. There is only the warmth. There is only the light. There is only the infinite, beautiful horizon. And as you sink into the final dreamless sleep of the morning, the lighthouse stands behind you, a silent guardian of your peace, forever turning its light toward the sea.